Time for our cheapskate alternatives. If you don't have the £140,000 you need for the Bentley that Johnny drove in Beijing, then I've got some treats for you.
Lashings of chrome, a sea of leather, and the ability to waft your way across the whole of Europe. These are the best beer money substitutes for the Bentley that Johnny drove in China. And prices start at just £1,000.
First, some British luxury for the price of a leather sofa, the Rover 75 from £1,000. Time for a test drive.
The 75 was on sale when Rover was owned by BMW, so, as you'd expect, it's pretty well engineered. The engine range starts at a 1.8-litre four-cylinder and goes right up to a 4.6-litre V8. Here, we've got a 2.5-litre V6 with an automatic gearbox. 6,000, 6.5, goes right to the red line at 6.8 and feels as sweet as I'm sure it did the very first day it ran. Press on through the corners and the soft body rolls to an ever-increasing angle, but at the same time the steering remains positive and you never feel like it's going to wander too wide. Wonderful Rover.
You can't buy more refinement for £1,000. The Rover's reliability is strong, but there are some things to look out for.
First, cam belts. The V6 has 3 of them, 2 at the back of the engine and 1 at the front. Now, these need changing every 90,000 miles or 6 years, and when they're being done, you should do the water pump as well. Now, this is a complicated job, and it can cost about £600 to have it done.
While the bonnet's up, check the drainage holes aren't blocked. If they are, water can leak into the car's ECU and damage it. Finally, make sure the fan works.
Quite a lot of these Rovers suffer from cooling fan failure, and you can quickly check this by starting the engine and then switching from Econ to Aircon. If the fan doesn't start, it's going to cost you 250 quid to fix it.
The Rover 75 is a genuine motoring bargain. But £3 more will buy you a Jaguar S-Type.
The S-Type was launched just 1 year later than the Rover 75. The most popular engine choice was the one we got here, again a 2.5-litre V6. Engine performance, smooth. Brakes, 30 miles an hour, effective. The one thing that does, though, date some of these older cars is the interior design. That really has moved ahead. This dashboard layout really isn't that pleasant, and the seat doesn't hold me nearly as well as a modern-day car would. But apart from that, there really is very little to choose between this and its modern successors. Rear-wheel drive, handling, quality, that hasn't changed.
As it weighs 1.7 tonnes, the S-Type is quite hard on its suspension and brakes. If you can, get the car off the ground.
Check for any movement in the wheels, because a couple of worn suspension parts can cost £500 to replace. And while you're there, make sure the discs aren't too ridged. 2 new discs and pads, that's £400 more.
Check the heater and screen wash. Faults here are signs that the wiring loom has corroded. Then check the boot.
If there's any water in the wheel well, you've found a Jaguar that leaks, quite possibly through this rear light cluster. And considering where the battery is, any car with a damp rear end is a car to avoid.
The Jaguar S-Type is a luxury car for peanuts. But I've got one last trick up my sleeve. A Bentley that won't break the bank. A Turbo R for 10 grand.
Underneath lies Bentley's finest 6 3/4-litre turbocharged V8, which pumps out 328 horsepower, which doesn't sound much by modern-day standards, but it'll still launch this Turbo R to 60 in under 7 seconds. When it was launched, Bentley said it could be a car that was driven hard. Well, hard in a straight line, maybe, but I'm not sure whether I want to press on too hard in the corners. You just turn and whee! It's funny really, the first roll is a bit alarming, but then it settles quite quickly and actually feels quite positive for the rest of the corner.
The Turbo R offers a taste of aristocracy for super mini money. But there are some common faults to check for.
Corrosion can be a big bugbear. Yes, the boot lid, doors and bonnet are aluminium, but the rest of the car is good old-fashioned steel. And a corroded wheel arch might mean the whole rear panel needs replacing, and that will set you back £1,000. And it's the same story at the front, where a new wing will cost you £300.
Check the alloys for corrosion as well, as a wheel refurb costs around £200 per corner.
Finally, while checking the paperwork, if the car's done more than 50,000 miles, look for any evidence that the head gaskets have been changed, because they don't tend to last much longer. Warning signs are low coolant level or a temperature gauge that's running over half. Replacing those gaskets will cost you £3,000.
So if your pockets aren't deep enough for the £140,000 Bentley Flying Spur, then don't fret. Just buy one of these plush cheapskate alternatives instead.